Hello, everyone. Welcome to May group chat where we're going to be talking about how to use analytics and what's working now. So, I want to thank you all for being here today. And I want to thank our CMA founders, the ERP and CRM software blog, and the partner marketing group who started this little group that could and watch us grow from there. So, thank you to them as always. Please ask questions. Put them in the chat. Come off mute. Be crazy like that. Totally up to you. But we're looking forward to your questions. Sharing is caring in this group. So please don't hesitate to do so. And then finally, Anya and Michelle will be monitoring the chat because, sometimes doing two things at once is hard for me. So that's why if I miss a question, hang tight. One of them will jump in and ask it for you. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our three panelists this week. We have Hannah Horning from Archerpoint, Amanda Sherry from Western, and we have Megan McDonagh from Celigo. I might have totally butchered your last name, so how about you go first, Megan, and tell us a little
Sure.
bit about yourself?
You're super close. It's a
Oh,
tough one. It's McDonagh if you ask anyone that's Irish,
uh,
McDonagh to anyone else, but I answer to any of them.
uh,
Hi, everybody. My name is Megan. I am the Director of Revenue Marketing at Celigo. I've been here about 2 years, and I've been in a couple other temp companies like Avalera, and I spent some time at High Radius as well. I'm really excited to be here today to talk about marketing. A lot of my background is general marketing, lots of events. I spent some time on an events team, also a partner marketing team. So that's kind of where I'll be coming from, talking about events, webinars, ads, all things.
all the things. Thank you for being here and looking forward to it. Amanda, how about you go next?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Amanda Sherry. I'm the VP of Marketing at Western Computer. I've been in the Microsoft channel for 10 years when I originally joined Western back in 2015. Super passionate about analytics. I will talk about them all day, every day. So you'll probably have to cut me off, Tanya. So sorry about that. But I really believe as marketers in general, we can be very undervalued. And we really have to prove our worth, and we can use analytics, not only prove the marketing budget, but also prove your worth. Professionally, you can use it to advocate for promotions, but analytics are just the superpower, I think. So
Analytics is superpower. Maybe that should have been our title for today's session. And last but definitely not least, Hannah, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm Hannah Horning with Archerpoint. I have also worked in a few different companies in the channel over the years. And over the years, I've done a little bit of everything in marketing, but now I focus more on demand generation, marketing operations. And also, of the last 3 years, I've been Salesforce. I know a little different in the Dynamics community, but Salesforce certified. So I too am a analytics nerd and absolutely love getting into the weeds with analytics and, like Amanda said, proving what the value that marketing has and just showing really how we're contributing as a team to the company.
Great. And all marketing nerds are more than welcome here. So please, anyone feel to nerd out with us and ask a question, just saying we can put that into the chat. So without further ado, let's start with question number one, which is what marketing strategies are currently working for you? Amanda, how about you kick us off with what you're doing now at Western?
sure. So when I think about marketing strategies, I think about the how the person originally found us. So I think of SEO, I think of SEM, I think of if they're on a third party, such as ERP software blog, whether it's Microsoft App Source, whatever it may be. And the marketing source to how we measure it is how they originally found us, not necessarily what they're converting on, such as a piece of content or white paper, for example. So for us, when we look at all of the different marketing sources and how we tie that back to our budget, what has worked the most for us is organic SEO. We have been for years prioritizing human content, human experience, not necessarily for SEO particularly. We don't keyword stuff, we don't backlink stuff, but we read it for human eyes. And we position ourselves as thought leaders within the community. So we know that end users, when they come to our website, if they're not converting on the very first day, we have to have enough content top of mind for them to then remember us and come back and typically convert about 45 days later. So we publish a lot of content, and with all of that content, it's really driven our SEO and our SEO ranking. So last year alone, we had 21 opportunities from SEO, which can, it's going to increase this year because after identifying and coming back to like tease a little bit of a question, but looking into lead quality, our SEO and our SEM vendor are the same, and we were determining that our pay per click was not where we wanted it to be from an ROI perspective. So we've recently switched vendors, and we are working with someone who's now more familiar with the ERP space and where we play. So I anticipate those results going up for 2025. But organic SEO for us drives 37% of our sessions, which is 11% higher than our second source of traffic. They have 44% of our engaged sessions, which the next highest is direct at 18%. So it's over doubling direct traffic right now. Or for 2024, I should say. And I think a lot of this has been contributed to Google's algorithm change with EEAT and really being the expertise within the field. So I think because we have always situated our website as thought leader and made for the experience when someone comes to our website, that's actually with Google's algorithm change, that's really benefited us.
That's awesome. And what I think is super interesting and like to highlight more is you go back and say this isn't perfect. We have to go and see what we can tweak and optimize. And I think that's something that's super important with analytics. It gives you that opportunity to be like, okay, my spidey sense is telling me something is off, and you have now the data to go match it with what's going on out there. So everyone, all is not lost. Go check out your data if your spidey sense is telling you that something could be better. Megan, what about you? What are you currently doing at Celigo?
Yeah, so in terms of what's working well for us, I kind of bucket our success into two buckets. So what's working top of funnel, what's driving net new for us, and then what's driving conversion. So that would be opportunities in our case. So in terms of what's bringing in top of funnel net new for us, it's generally about 45% events. That's from Q1 of this year, which I'd say is pretty abnormal for most companies. Generally, your heavy event season is spring and fall. We participate pretty heavily in the NetSuite system or the NetSuite ecosystem, and they had a bunch of regional events that we sponsored. So we saw a huge uptick in our events for Q1. But that's how we generated a ton of our net new, which is interesting. I think for some companies that have been around a long time in the Microsoft space or any other ecosystem, a lot of the times you're seeing a lot of your customers or clients. For us, depending on the ecosystem, that's how we generate net new. We also saw just under 30% coming from inbound and websites, so very similar to Amanda. We're also seeing a good chunk, just under 10% from Q1 came from webinars. And we've actually switched a couple of our strategies for webinars this year, which has really helped us. So one of those is we invested in a really good webinar platform. We used to use Zoom webinars, which was great, but we switched to something that had a little more oomph to it. So with Goldcast, which is what we use, we're able to set up series pages. So we have 3 series going on right now. So people are able to multi-register for different events. So if they're interested in, for example, we have a ins and outs of integrating X to Y. So depending on the topic, it'll be different, but people can register for multiple events. So generally for those ins and outs webinars, I could have up to like 100, 150 registrants for something that I haven't even started email promotion for. So that's been huge for us, and just that multi-reg, which has been really great. We've also optimized our website and SEO as well. So we've seen that work really well. We actually just launched our new messaging on Celigo.com today. So if you want to take a look and any marketers want to provide me feedback, it's definitely a different look and feel than what we've done in the past. So let me know if you have any feedback. But But yeah, so I'd say in top of funnel for us in terms of success, we see a lot of webinars, events. Something that we actually moved away from last year that we thought was going to be a great top of funnel strategy was content syndication. We found it to be really expensive. We were getting a lot of really bad leads, no MQLs, and they weren't converting to opportunities. So we still do content syndication in a couple different ways, but we've kind of scaled back in terms of investment there. Moving on to bottom or middle of funnel, where we're seeing conversion, so more quality than just net new. Again, it's about 74% inbound and website, which is probably pretty common for most people. Those are your contact us, your demo requests, things like that. So very people that know you, people that are interested in learning more, and they're actually like really raising their hand. We also see a good chunk from events just because in Q1 we did so many. So we have that FaceTime interaction. That could be net new, that could be people we've known for years in the ecosystem, but that face-to-face time really does help in terms of converting those. We also are starting a new motion here in Q2 with outbound with sales. So marketing is kind of helping provide messaging around that for different ICP groups. So in terms of different strategies, that was a very long-winded answer, but we do bucket it into what's bringing in net new to kind of fill our pipe and start our funnel, and then what's actually converting down the way.
Not long-winded at all. I think it's a good reminder that we shouldn't, not all leads are created equal, and that we should be looking them at the different levels, because like we said, it's like, what's next? Once they've done step one, what does step two look like? Unfortunately, in our world, it's not a one and done. We're not buying a pair of shoes. We're buying a huge piece of software. So chances are it's going to be this multi-touch that is important to look at. And I also appreciate that you were talking about what's not working. And, that's okay to say, hey, this isn't working. Let's take this marketing budget and put it somewhere else, because we all know that is very important resource that we don't always have a lot of access to, which is money. So by optimizing it as much as possible, that I think is fabulous. And then some questions are coming in. One of them is, Megan, where do you content syndication? So maybe you could talk a little bit about that
Yeah, we
without,
used a couple. Yeah, I
talking
don't
about
want to
which ones are
badmouth
like, no, we're
any
not with that.
vendors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I won't badmouth any vendors that we used last year. I do think
Yeah.
part of it was we didn't have the right strategy with the content syndication provider. So what I mean by that is last year we focused on top of funnel generating as many leads as possible. This year, not only did our team name change from campaigns to revenue marketing, we're focused more on bottom of funnel. So one vendor that we're currently working with is called Tech Advice. And the only way this vendor gets paid is if we convert to opportunities. So it's not paid based on leads, which is generally what those content syndication vendors provide. So we did switch our strategy. We picked someone very well known in the space that we're in. Our target audience, our ICP, is generally that IT operation, some finance buyers. So they have a specialty in that, which is really helpful. So it's really about finding the right vendor, making sure you internally have the right strategy, because a lot of the times you're your own worst enemy. You maybe don't know how to use content syndication appropriately. And I don't know that we used it in the best strategy last year. So we did switch that.
I'm loving that you guys are talking about the pros and cons of all of this today. So Hannah, what's going on in the Archerpoint's world?
Yeah, so last year, all of the metrics I have off the top of my head are when reviewing last year. And over the course of Archpoint's kind of history, the last 10 years has been really focused on like Western building up that thought leadership, just the branding, and building up our blogs. So that is actually where we get majority of our traffic onto our website. Is the entry point, whether it becomes a conversion or not, tends to be through our blog. We see that over and over again. So we do dedicate a lot of our time and resources to keeping up on our blog. At least 2 to 3 times a week, we post new content. I will say something that is happened to us over the years is we actually have so many blogs. We now have to worry more about keyword cannibalization and different things like that. So we can't always just, write a new blog that week. Sometimes our strategy over the years has shifted to, well, like, how do we go back and optimize these other blogs that we already have that are ranking for certain keywords and make sure they're tied into new call to actions, right? That they're not pointed toward old, stale landing pages or something along those lines. So that is how our strategy has shifted a lot on the inbound side. The SEO side is now it's a lot more of optimization and less just volume, less of a volume play. And we do have a vendor that we work with, an agency that does help us with prioritizing um, pages and keywords, and they bring us new keyword ideas and et cetera. So that has been a huge help to us because we're a small team of 4 people, but we have a couple of people who are shared resources. So it's not 4 full-time people. It's really it comes out to be like 2.5 full-time resources. So for us being such a small team, we do have to rely on these agencies to be the expert where we can't, be constantly in that day to day looking at that analysis. And that has helped us tremendously. And we have an agency currently that's managing our SEO efforts and our pay-per-click efforts. So that has been really successful. We're using the same vendor for both, and we've gotten great results with them doing both plays. It took a little while for them to get on board with what we do and understand ERP because it is more complicated, but they've been, unlike some vendors I've worked with in the past, they have gotten up to speed, which is nice, right? Like at least they got there. It just took them a little while. But from a revenue perspective, so what marketing is actually bringing into the business. So when we look at the bookings for last year that marketing directly contributed to Archerpoint, um, about 48% of that was actually inbound, so either through direct traffic sources or organic search. So that's really all of that, what I'm talking about, right? The agency work that we do, all of the blogging we do, the new pages that we're putting on our website to keep up on certain terms. And then the other half of that, so the other basically 50% of the business comes from paid search. So that's, of course, our PPC, but split between Google and Bing. And then actually, we do a large portion, about 20% comes from events. So that is, and we actually don't do too many events. Most of that is actually just Community Summit in the fall because we have a huge client base that attends that conference, and it's always a good opportunity for us to get in front of our clients and upsell them or cross-sell them on something.
And
And then to just wrap it up, when we look at our traffic sources and what brings people to our website rather than just what converts them, is organic search is by far the highest at 64%. I mean, it's significantly higher than any other source. The next lowest source is only 15% of the traffic, right? So it's a huge dip when we look at those other sources. So we know our organic search efforts are working, and we do put majority of our resources into that. And then over the past 3 years, we've just been trying to balance that where we have more paid levers and we have more outbound levers versus just an inbound strategy, because sometimes it is nice to have more flexibility. So that is something over the last 3 years we have balanced it out. It used to be more like 75% inbound, 25% outbound strategies, but now we're 50-50. So that's a little healthier to have a range of options to choose from rather than just, relying on things like SEO.
yeah, and I think by having that vendor who's able to see both sides of the coin, that helps as well. Like Amanda mentioned earlier as well, having a vendor that understands and is able to get the differences in our industry are very particular and important, and why we have this chat, shameless plug. So as let's move on to our next question, which is, what do you report on? You all kind of touched upon it a bit, but maybe let's go to the specifics on what do people ask for, what do you report on, just to make sure we catch them all. Amanda, how about you start us off?
Yeah, I think how I report definitely depends on the audience in which I'm reporting to. So the remainder of my fellow executive team members, we really care about our MQLs, our ops created, and our ops won and revenue against our targets. So we understand what our average deal size is. We understand what our overall goals are, how many wins it takes to get to that goal, how many opportunities, what's our win rate? So how many opportunities do we need to get created? And then what's our MQL to ops conversion rate? So then how many MQLs do we need? So that is higher level. We do break it down by source type. We do get leads from Microsoft, but we very much care about how we're growing our existing accounts as well as what marketing is bringing in. And then anything from a referral, like we have a lot of partners within the ecosystem. So customer referrals, partner referrals, employee referrals, whatever it may be, we count a referral separately. So it's very, we look at the conversion rates against our targets for the fellow executive team. For leadership team, we go in a little bit more detail. Also for our own marketing team and for our sales and marketing alignment and reporting, it's that detail, but it goes specific by industry. So we do our MQLs, ops, and wins by industry against the goals because we work with different AEs for different industries. We also look at our pay-per-click. We look at our emails. We look at our webinars, registration. We look at, oh my gosh, almost like we pretty much analyze everything. So, as whatever
Why
detail.
you're here today, why you're here.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes like it's I forget what the thing is. Anyway,
Analysis paralysis.
yes, thank you. There you go. So we also look at outbound efforts. We have not been great at outbound efforts in the past, but we're trying to make an effort there. We know that people are guiding themselves through the sales cycle, so we're trying to get ahead of it. But we are very, very mindful of the source of the lead and the MQL and where we're driving the most ROI, so we can realign our efforts accordingly.
I think that is so important that you do that math. I think some people think marketing, all we do is pretty pictures, but no, there's a lot of math that goes behind it as well. And to know if someone's like, this is your objective for 2026, and you're like, well, I'll need 1,000 leads, and then they'll be like, whoa, at least you have that backup of what you've done from an analytics point of view to, okay, this is what our actual conversion is. So where can we can move the marker in there. So super important when people give you crazy numbers, at least you can go back and justify budget or justify you're just on the crazy train. I wouldn't recommend saying that, but just that could be your inner monologue. Megan, what about you? What do you guys report on, and who do you show, or what do people ask for in the organization?
Yeah, so similar to Amanda, our three main KPIs are leads generated, MQL, so marketing qualified leads, those that show interest and that are also within our ideal customer profile, and then opportunities, those that convert, and then revenue generated from the marketing department. So those are kind of our key focus areas for us. In terms of our revenue marketing team, we meet as a group with product marketing bi-weekly. We call them our program pulse meetings, where we take a look at how we're tracking against the quarter for those KPIs. We talk about different campaigns and programs that are running, how they're performing, if we need to make tweaks or pivot. We talk about that in those meetings. We do a monthly, it's not very eloquent, but we call it our data dump meeting, where we have a larger group and it's really more reviewing those quarterly goals and where we're stacking. And so we kind of keep those more high level in terms of, why aren't we hitting a certain KPI? Are we doing well in a certain area? Here's the reason for that. Here's the changes that we're going to make based on knowing our data. So we have those two meetings that are kind of within the marketing organization. And then to Amanda's point, depending on the audience, we also meet with our executive team quarterly. So for those, we really focus on ops generated and then revenue generated. That's really what they care about. I think it's really important to not just know your data, but know your audience. they don't really care about those soft metrics like clicks and views and things like that. They're like, where's my opportunities? Where's my revenue? So that's kind of how we segment it out. But it's nice because we didn't have those types of meetings set up last year where we met regularly. It was very reactive, and this year we've been a lot more proactive in meeting as a group, discussing things, brainstorming ideas, but also like looking at the numbers constantly, which has been really helpful.
I think that's a great balance of not being in panic mode all the time and learning that, okay, like if we can start seeing trends happening, we can start predicting where things are going. So by having those analytics in place, you guys are ahead of the eight ball, which must be a nice change from, running after your tail. And Hannah, what are some of what do different members of your organization ask to see? What is most important to them?
Yeah, so very similar to what they do. It really depends on the audience. Of course, it's the same type of story, right? The executives only care about certain metrics. And then from a marketing team's perspective, yeah, weekly, we're looking at what happened last week. So we keep our reporting cycle very short for our weekly marketing meetings. And that's where we get things done, right? That's where we can quickly change or pivot based on what happened last week. And then as a marketing team, also we do a monthly, which is a little bit different. And that's where we're going to look at all the emails we sent last month, all of the campaigns that ran last month. So it just gives us a little longer, right, of a cycle that we can then look at, but it's still a kind of a shorter reporting cycle. And then during those meetings, we are keeping an eye on our goals, which as a marketing team, our goals are based on the revenue contributed by marketing, right? What did marketing contribute to the sales team? And then we look at the quality of what was the conversion rate from what marketing passed off as an MQL to an SQL. So where's the quality? And we have a percentage that we're trying to hit each year. And that's something that we as a team are held to. And then also we look at I lost my train of thought. I don't even know, but our revenue number as well as our quality. Those are like the two kind of top line metrics. And then we do get questions here and there. The sales team tends to care about what their sales team got. So that's when we'll end up going back and we'll look. We have reporting split out by, what MQLs did we pass to you specifically, to your sales team specifically? Because those are the questions that we're getting from the sales team leads, right? They're saying, well, it said you passed over 10 MQLs last week, but I didn't get any. It's like, okay, well, let's take a look at where they went. And it may have just gone to different sales teams. So those are pretty common questions we get. We do share that we do what's called a marketing minute every Monday. We send out a brief email communication to the whole company about what marketing did last week, and it includes every lead that we passed over to sales. So that is something, or that should be coming to them if we haven't categorized it yet. So if we don't know which sales team it should be assigned to, we do note in there that it's uncategorized. So that's helped get ahead of some of those just like basic questions. And then something interesting that I'm looking at right now is not only do we look at win rate, right, the conversion rates from what comes from marketing versus when sales, it's sales generated versus marketing generated. I do compare the conversion rates, but something I'm doing now is I'm starting to look at the push count, which I don't know, it's interesting. If you're ever curious to go look at how many times an opportunity is pushed. So look at how many times the estimated close date changes on an opportunity, and then you can essentially relate that to probability to close. So that's something that I am starting to compare now. I turned that on several months ago at the beginning of the year, maybe mid Q1. So now that I'm starting to gather the data, because once you set your formulas up, you can basically keep track of this. And that's interesting to see because what we want to know, of course, at the end of the year, what I want to find out is that should also give us a quality metric. Like one, do marketing opportunities take longer on average than sales generated opportunities? And two, if theoretically, if something pushes X number of times, what's the reduction in probability to close? So those are just some interesting new kind of metrics I am playing with lately.
Okay, so I'm officially geeking out here. I can't wait to hear about the push metrics and where they end up. And I think what you guys are doing with your alignment with sales and marketing, showing them the numbers right from the jump is so important, because if you wait too long, we've noticed in the past that maybe some salespeople are very they forget quickly on what happened a week ago. So by having those marketing minutes, I think is super important for everyone. And hands up in the chat, how many people have had a marketing minute go out to a org? I had to smile because I think that has been our tagline at pretty much every company I've worked at one point or another. So I'm glad to keep on keeping on there. So we're just going to have a quick commercial break. I want to say thank you to all of our CMA patrons. They keep our lights on, and thank you for all their continued support. Marketeer, OMSI, UST Pay, you are our OGs here in this community, and our latest additions, Partner Talks, MSDW, and Vicinity. Thank you so much for supporting our little community and helping us grow. And shameless plug, if anyone else would like to help support our community and keep these sessions free so we can keep our lights on and keep doing this for you, please consider sponsoring. The link is in the chat. It's less than any sales training or marketing training you would do for an entire year. It's only $250. So please, you don't need to watch me beg any longer, but that would be greatly appreciated to help keep our website going and keep these sessions free. So back from our commercial break now, and let's do part 2 of our session. So keep on the idea of this multi-touch and stuff like that. What attribution models are you guys using? Amanda, you talked a bit about, what you care about most is the first touch. Which ones are you using and why? Amanda, I kind of scooped you a little bit, so why don't you go first?
Yeah, so at Western, we have the W attribution model. So if you think of a W, there is the first touch, is the one line, the converting touch, which is where the lead was generated, and then the opportunity creation. I very much care within the marketing in terms of my budget where the first touch and the converting touch lie, because if you were to only focus on converting touch, for example, and you take away first touch dollars and you invest it all in converting touch, then how did they find you? Like, how did they come to you? You have to, I weigh them equally because they're not going to convert unless they found you. So they are one and the same to me, and how we prioritize it. And then the opportunity creation, that's, we have a BDR in-house where they're the ones that are pushing the opportunity. So they have the MQLs, they're making sure that they're pre-qualified and they're BANT, and then they're converting them off to the opportunities for the sales team. So we weigh them all heavily. We have a BDR in-house that looks at the opportunity creation, that will deliver other pieces of content, that will get on the phone and talk to them. So I very much would not do one without the other in terms of tracking. Like, I don't think I could ever, if anyone takes away my marketing sources, I'll be so sad, but I can never take away the first touch or the converting touch or look at them differently. They are very much equal in my eyes.
That's very interesting. I think it's true that our sales cycles and conversion cycles can be long because this isn't a pair of shoes. So I think that's good that you see the start and the finish, well, our finish line, the start line for the next. Hannah, but what about you? You talked a little bit about those things, but you can go into a little more detail for us.
Yeah, so most of our reporting is done on a last touch model, which is at the conversion point, right? Which is the last campaign to be associated to the record when it converts to an opportunity, or right before it converts to an opportunity. So that is the main model that we use, except we do track first touch model too. So even though our reporting leans heavily towards that, we can also report on the first touch, which is essentially how it originally came into us. And I agree with Amanda. I think it's very important to have both, whether you have a multi-touch model, or you can just report on both like I do. I just report on them separately, or I'll go compare them. You don't necessarily have to do anything too fancy to get that information. So that is what we do. And we do see some differences, not always, but sometimes, right? If we look at things like, something may came in through organic search, but then they converted on something later, right? They converted at an event or on a webinar or whatever it may be, some other campaign. So it's great to have that information. And I do have that information available to me.
And I think that's like such a key is it doesn't have to be fancy. I know it sounds scary when you start looking at all this analytics. And when I think of like where my company is at versus where you guys are at, I'm like, whew, that's a long road ahead of me. But I think as long as you start somewhere, and even if some of it's manual, you don't have to try and make everything super fancy at the beginning. It's just to start and get it going. So thanks for reminding me, Hannah, that I don't need to be perfect all the time or ever, but at least, get started with that. And I think another key point of that is having the tools to be able to track these things and like getting that information in. Then after that, how you slice it and dice it, well, that's totally up to you. So, Megan, what kind of tools are in your toolbox?
We've got lots of tools. So Celigo is an integration platform, meaning we help you connect all your applications across all your business processes. So we are very tool happy here at Celigo because we can connect all of them. So in terms of reporting, we operate off of a first touch attribution model, but also a linear model. So we use Salesforce for that first touch to show, and that's where the credit is for the opportunity. So it will go off of that first touch, how it came in. But what I love that we do here is we also look at the linear model. So we use a tool called CaliberMind. It's kind of an expensive tool. But it's a reporting tool that allows us to see all the touches and give equal credit to all the touches. So not just how it first came in, not how it moved through the funnel, but also that converting element as well. So we can see the full customer journey, which is nice because then we're not just, spending or investing in how they came in, because that how they came in may not be what converted them. So we're spending our investments appropriately. So we use both of those tools for reporting. Our executive team uses ThoughtSpot for their reporting tool. It's just a little more high level, very user friendly. Some tools that you may not think of as traditional reporting tools, but that I use every day. I mentioned earlier we use Goldcast for our webinar platform. So within that tool, since we have a Salesforce integration and the applications are connected, I can now see for anything that has like a multi-audience. So if I have a webinar that is for partners, customers, and prospects, I can then go into the Salesforce campaign and see that breakdown of the audience, which is nice because my team is focused on new logo. So that's really important that we drive that net new. So it's really good that we can see that within there. Another great thing about Goldcast is they have a content lab. So that feature allows me to take a recorded webinar. It has an AI functionality that allows me to create clips, or it will create clips for me and I can pick from them. It will add subtitles. So if I want to repurpose that webinar via social post, I can pull a clip from that, put it in a social post, and go from there with very little lift or effort, which is really, really nice. It also provides a transcript. The AI functionality can create a blog post based on the information within the webinar. So I can create some written content out of it, because doing webinars is a lot of work, no matter how many people you have on them. So being able to repurpose and reuse that content is really, really important. We also use a tool called Rollworks. It's for ABM. What I love about that tool is I will have different total account lists for different programs or segments. And I can take that list and Rollworks will separate it into journey stages. So from the accounts that I'm targeting that may not know Celigo, I can know if they're in unaware, unengaged, if they've seen or done something with me with Celigo in the past versus someone who's more bottom of funnel. So I can serve them up content that's appropriate for each of those stages, which I really enjoy. We also use a sales tool called Gong for mass outreach. They have some AI functionality, which is really nice, and some reporting features that shows me, it'll pull out keywords from conversations that closed won. So I can tell what are customers' pain points, what should I be hitting on in terms of messaging, and what really resonated with those different prospects. So it's a really nice tool. And a lot of the times you can get reporting functionality off of different tools you wouldn't normally think as a traditional reporting model. So just, not everybody has as many tools as Celigo does, but I would encourage you to look into each reporting feature that your tools do have, because you may be able to pull out more than what you're able to pull out of your traditional reporting resource.
And in the chat, everyone is having tool envy on all the cool stuff that you can do that maybe some of us other ones aren't don't have access to. But to that point is go deeper into each of those tools that you do have and try to squeeze every little bit of analytics out of it, because someone's going to ask you something, and the more you know, the better answers you'll have, and for all the other analytics and good stuff you spoke about. And yes, I am very jealous also about your webinar tool that you can slice and dice into a million of different things, because yeah, we need to repurpose everything we can. We have other chats that we talk about that. So let's continue on with analytics. Hannah, what make us tool envy from your side? What kind of tools are you using?
We're pretty lean. We don't actually have that many tools. Our main reporting tools, the tools that I look at daily, I mean, I pretty much do everything in Salesforce. Like I said, I'm a Microsoft trader. I use Salesforce for CRM, Archerpoint does, and we use Pardot as our marketing automation, which is obviously directly integrated into Salesforce. And then outside of those tools, I use Google Analytics for our top line website metrics, the standard. We do have some reporting in Power BI. And then for other analytics, we use, SEM Rush, and we have 6sense, which is an ABM tool similar to Rollworks that gives us some similar information where it tells you, different accounts, which buyer stage they're in. So those are really the main tools we use, but I mean, majority, I would say 99% of the metrics I do is with Salesforce. And like I said, I don't think you actually have to have really too many fancy tools to do some basic marketing analytics and just marketing attribution. I mean, most tools, most CRM today has what you need to get started on at least being able to do first touch, last touch, or a combination of both. It's, I mean, you could simply have a gravity form on your website that pushes that data to your CRM. So it doesn't have to be fancy, but pretty much every marketing tool, if you have a marketing tool, they all have their own set of analytics, right? Like Megan said. So just go in and take a look and see what you can do with what you have. Because like I said, we don't actually have that much, but it still gives us a lot of good information.
Yeah, and your tool is only as good if you know how to use it. Because we're so tool happy here at Celigo, a challenge that we actually have is understanding each and every tool, because there's so many. So we rely pretty heavily on CSMs that we have for each of those tools. So like Rollworks, for example, we meet bi-weekly with them. She's always sharing new features. I have someone on my team that specifically runs webinars. She attends the Goldcast feature update, so she's always bringing new, improved things that we didn't even think about or consider, because we didn't do series before this year, and they've increased our registrations tenfold. So you really got to take the time, unfortunately, to know your tools and really understand what's available to you. And you should, if you have a CSM or a customer success person, or even if you have the time to kind of self-service, go into their website and do some learning tools. Like if you're a HubSpot user, they have HubSpot Academy. I try to get in there every so often, just try to teach myself when I can. I know we don't have a lot of spare time as marketers, but you could even set aside like 1 hour a week to do some kind of investigating on what you have and how you can use it, I think it helps.
Yeah, and it totally comes back to making the investment worth it the year after. Some of these tools are quite pricey, so to make sure that they are working and that you're getting the most out of the investment, that 1 hour a week or 1 hour a month with the CMA Academy could be very much worth it. So, seeing the time tick by, so we're going to slowly start wrapping it up with our final question. And this one we started doing. So it's a bit of a start stop. What would you start doing? What would you stop doing when tracking analytics? Amanda, take us home with this one.
So my biggest piece of advice is to figure out a way, whether it's in your marketing automation system or whether it's in your CRM system, but I believe every marketer has to attach lead quality to their marketing source. A story I told was when I briefly left Western for 14 months, I came back and our same SEO and pay-per-click vendor, the month I came back, said, our ads for X campaign are doing really well. We should double, triple down. When we look at the conversions and when we look at the impressions and Google ads, they're killing it, right? They are bringing in a lot of conversions for you. So we should absolutely take away from these other high priority campaigns and put it towards the campaign A or campaign X. And I was like, well, have you connected that? Like, have you analyzed the lead quality of it? Because I provide them a monthly report that's automated from our marketing automation system that connects lead quality to our Google ads. They're like, no, we haven't looked at that. I'm like, well, what have you been doing for the past 14 months? But anyway, so when we looked at it, every single lead, though that they were bringing in multiple leads, every single one was immediately disqualified. Not a target, not anything. I looked back at how much money was spent on that campaign over those 14 months, and it was slightly embarrassing. We are recording, so I won't say. I don't want to be on record. But I was like, why were you not looking at this lead quality all along? And why would you even suggest doubling or tripling down on something when you're not looking at the lead quality? I don't care about the quantity. I care about the quality. I much rather have 5 qualified leads from spending that same exact campaign than have 50 and have them all be immediately disqualified. That's useless to me. Outside of just reporting that an MQL hit. So if you're not connecting lead quality to your marketing sources, then you're not having that full picture of everything. So it could get you into a lot of wasted budget. And we all know how precious marketing budget is.
Love that. So everyone, I'm going to start tracking lead quality with all my lead sources coming in. And Megan, take us home. What should you stop doing when it comes to tracking?
I think back to something Amanda said earlier about just knowing your audience. I can't tell you how many times in my career where I've been sitting in a meeting room and someone's going over impressions or clicks with an executive and they're just, the eyes glaze over, they don't care. It's like, when you're presenting to someone at a higher level, make sure you're presenting, a very high level story. What do they want to know? And know that going into the meeting, ask them if you don't know, but it's generally going to be your revenue, your opportunities, more bottom of funnel. I think it's important to talk about clicks and impressions among your team, like what's driving eyeballs, but also think about the conversion piece too. So a lot of what we do for digital is we'll switch out our assets pretty frequently, quarterly, because those get stale and you can't just set it and forget it. You really got to think about what's working. Oh, this demo video did really well. Let's do something similar in this program that's not doing so well. Or, hey, this program isn't performing. Let's switch up what we're doing here. So it's really important to go back and look at what's actually working and not just say, yeah, we set our budget for the year. This is what we're doing, and this is what we're going to keep doing, instead of looking at the data and making decisions based on that.
No. So I think looking at data, I don't know if we were able to drive that home enough today, but super important. And thank you for all of your insights and time today. Super, super important for us as reminders of what we should be tracking and what we should start and stop doing. So if you are looking to see how you stack up in the community against others like this and to find other stats and many others of this sorts, check out the Technology Marketing Benchmarks and Trends report. It is now out, which is very exciting. So if you haven't downloaded already, shame on you, but we're not judging here. So let's download it, and looking forward to hearing about it. um we have a question that came in. Did Hannah talk about? No. Hannah, we're gonna put you on the spot here.
Sure.
Do you do
I
you
have
have anything?
something.
Okay, well,
I'm sure I
go
can
for it.
always fill the space if you ever need
Yeah.
me to.
Oh,
Uh, so one of the things I would say would be it's similar to it's kind of a different angle of what you guys are saying. I would say look at your what kind of top line metrics you're reporting on, and then also the bottom line. So I consider top line, right, like those clicks, those impressions, the cost per impression, all of the things, your open rates, etc. And then your bottom line metrics sort of that closer to the bottom of the funnel. So what are you passing to sales and what's actually driving the bookings or committed revenue? So kind of analyze what you're looking at on your weekly, monthly, and quarterly, annually cadences, and then just take it kind of like, go through one line, say, is this a top line or is this a bottom line metric? Because you may just need to balance what you're looking at. I think personally, for me, I think it makes sense to look at top line metrics. In shorter cycles. So those are the things I'm looking at weekly, right? Like I'm going into my ABM programs, I'm looking to make sure our cost hasn't just skyrocketed in the last week and our clicks haven't completely diminished. And then, but I know that that doesn't necessarily, like that campaign is not necessarily going to drive revenue today. So I don't need to always look at that for every single thing. So I think keeping those in shorter cycles, reporting cycles, and then your longer reporting cycles, like are your bottom line metrics that you can set up in your dashboards and just keep them always on and working. So then you can pull them up weekly or monthly. But I would say just take a look at what you're reporting on and get a good balance of both.
life is all about balance, right? So I think we should take that into our careers as well. So uh, keep that in mind. And your audience, I think that those were the key takeaways there of making sure you're saying the right things that don't make other people's eyes glaze over when you chat with them about
Be
it.
careful about how you say revenue. This is something that, depending on who you're talking to. So marketers like to say marketing generated revenue. Technically, revenue isn't generated until your company receives dollars. So if your company has not received dollars and you tell that to a finance person, they are going to start questioning whether you know what you're talking about. So it is important to understand that even though that's a common nomenclature in marketing, that is not a widely accepted term. For some companies refer to them as bookings, committed revenue, um, fees, estimated fees. There's a whole slew of terminology that are more in line with financial terminology. So that's an area I think also that can help you as grow in your career, as well as understanding how to adjust the language you use for the executive you're talking to.
I think I just had the okay, what we do to market to others, we have to look at it internally when we're speaking the language and knowing your audience and knowing what's interesting to them and using the proper words is so important. So balance that on the outside and on the inside of your organization. So thank you, Hannah, for adding another 5 minutes to this chat that I
Sorry.
needed to. No, 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 this is great. I never know how close we're going to be or not, so I'm always glad that you guys. That's why you're subject matter experts, and I just ask questions. So finally, and last but not least, join us next month where we're going to be talking about referral and influencer marketing in the ERP and CRM channel. Some of us might think this is Kim Kardashian going, yo, 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 buy this. Not exactly that. There is a lot more to it. I just saw on LinkedIn, the ERP software blog, Anya was at an event and she was able to get 4,000 views on LinkedIn. So this is an excellent example of how influencer marketing may look differently in our space, but still very important. And we as marketers should be open to these opportunities and as well. So please join us. And we've also manifested a book club. Woot woot. So if anyone hasn't started reading yet, present company included, get on that because our first one is in June. The book is They Asked and You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. I'm terrible with last names. I should have not tried that one. So Anya highly recommends this book. Please read it. Please join our book club. It's been 4 or 5 years in the making that we've manifested this. So please join us. Thank you again for attending today. If you've missed one for a good or bad reason, no judgment here, but go visit us on Channel Marketing Academy website. Sharing is caring. Please share it with other team members and get them involved in our community as well. So thank you again. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.